Hello and welcome to Crypto Weeklies. In this video, we are going to discuss Litecoin and its ticker LTC. None of the content is financial advice. Right now, the price of Litecoin comes at around $110. It's still below the 0.23 fib level at around $129. These Fibonacci levels are drawn from the 2021 high to the 2021 low. The highs were at around $411. The lows were at around $41. So about a 90% drop. But over a series of longer term horizon, Litecoin has been forming this. If you were to draw this line over here, where there are increasingly higher lows over here. Let's color code it in white over here, and also over a macro period of time, from cycle to cycle, there are higher highs, barely higher highs from the 370 to $410 peak in December 2017. Then again back in 2021 at around 420. If we were to extend this line towards the end of the year, that is in late December, the price action could go as high as about $500 if there were any higher high for this time around, and where if the higher highs were to be in line with that ascending line at the tops. But this time around again, what we have done is identified what could be key areas of interest. First is the 0.618 fib level at around $270, and the 0.786. If there were no all-time highs for this cycle, the two levels to watch for is not financial advice, between $270 and $333. And I'll back by the models that present this similar scenario. The first is the machine learning model. This is available on cryptoweeklies.com, link on the bottom of your screen. This model says that this is trend on weekly price action for Litecoin since 2014, about 10 to 11 years. If there is a non-euphoria bull run in the next 6 months, the peak estimated by the machine learning model is between $128 and $200. This is trend on weekly price action. Seasonal RMI, LSTM and XGBoost based model says this would be the non-Euphoria ceiling. The orange line is the Euphoria 2 standard deviation, 95% confidence that the ceiling is within $140 for this week. And as we go late December 2025, the ceiling is at around $301. The $301 Litecoin is midway between the 0.786 and the 618, between $270 and $330. As the midpoint would be about. From here, if we go to that $300 target, that would be about a 2.5x with 150% rally from the current price of about $110. So that's where the price action again over here is, and the ceiling at around $300 estimated with the Euphoria phase. The 3 standard deviation ceiling, where the ceiling is within 99.7% confidence that the ceiling is on the red line between $153 for this week and $430. That's the $430 is the path for Litecoin. The 3 standard deviation blow-off top scenario, where the ceiling for this bull run is slightly higher than the 2021 highs at around $411 to that $478 that is predicted by this ascending line based forecast. But the machine learning model says that $430 Litecoin towards the end of year 2025 is still within the 3 standard deviation possibility. Again, this is not an opinion, this is the forecast model trained on machine learning model. These are not manipulated forecasts. These are use seasonal RMI, LSTM and XGBoost. If you like to visit them in tabular format, they are also available on the bottom of your screen. The 3 standard deviation 99 percentile bull case, you can see over here. Lots of decimal points over here and trailing digits. That's because other altcoins have a less than $1 valuation. In terms of the regression based fair value for Litecoin, the polynomial regression model says that $137 would be the fair value for Litecoin. If you were to follow the ascending white line, that the series of higher lows that Litecoin has been making right now, that support is coming in at around $67-68 level, and that is slightly lower than the fair value. That is where the 1 standard deviation residual drawn as a residual to the fair value. You can see the green line. That's where whenever the price is close to that green line over here, this has marked potential market cycle lows like it did back in June 2022 when the price was for the first time came below the $50 level. Coming to the opposite side of this green line is the 1 standard deviation residual drawn to the upside, equidistant from that fair value. Together, this yellow line and the green line price action stays about 70% time within these bounds, 68% to be precise. That's the 1 standard deviation area using the polynomial regression based approach. Without a euphoria phase in the market, it's very hard for Litecoin to break out of this yellow line like it was back in November, December time period. Although there was a euphoria phase for most of the altcoins, Litecoin particularly was not taking the center stage or having a blow off top at that point in time, or Euphoria Ceiling. That's where the yellow line was at around $150 right now. If the price action were to go to that $255, that would mark a non-euphoria peak. But again, if you were to extrapolate this line in December, 6 months out into the future, you could easily see that yellow line going to some point between $270 and $300. That's where the non-euphoria peak for Litecoin could occur. The euphoria peak is kind of tricky. This is the orange line, which is the 2 standard deviation residual. That model helped identify the 2021 peak as well as the 2017-2018 peaks. But one stark contrast from cycle to cycle is that in the 2017-2018 cycle, the price action did go higher than the 3 standard deviation residual. In 2017, in 2021, did not make it to the 3 standard deviation residual, but barely made to the 2 standard deviation residual. So this time around, a similar story could occur where again the price action could be topping somewhere at the midpoint of the 1 standard deviation, and that is the yellow line and the orange line. Right now they are at around $250 and $470 respectively. 6 months out into the future, they could be between $300 and $550. So taking an average of those two at around roughly speaking $800 together, if you take an average, that price action ceiling could be at around $400, an average of the orange line and the yellow line extrapolated. If you want to leverage the extrapolation, the daily polynomial regression model, kind of similar to the weekly one that we just saw, has the projection capability. The fair value projected towards the end of the year is coming in at around $300, $290 to be precise. And if you were to draw, this is a 2 standard deviation ceiling. If you were to draw and extrapolate this out into the future, that could easily meet $600 to $700. Again, taking an average of that, 300 and 600 at around $900, dividing it by 2 gets that $450 target. Again, this is all the way to the $1,000. This is slightly more optimistic. In terms of the regression based risk levels to be looking for in terms of a peak, last time around at the 2021 peak, the regression risk levels topped at around 0.25. Right now, the regression risk is much lower for Litecoin at around 0.05. That is 5%. That is 5x away from the peak regression risk. If that kind of environment is ahead of us, the price action forecasted is at this point between $205 and $232. In 6 months out into the future, they could easily be somewhere close to that $230 to $270, confluent with that 0.618 over here. The 20-week simple moving average based price forecast, right now the risk is at around 0.25. The last time around it peaked at around 0.55. So 0.55 risk per this model is between $245 and $260. Again, 6 months out into the future, they could be at around 270 to 330, closer to that 330, which is 0.786. Again, I'll just removing it from here, at around $332. The time weighted average price estimation for Litecoin, again over here, time weighted average price risk, the blue line helped identify the accumulation zone from 2018 onwards, where the price was lower than the time weighted average price. helped identify the bear market accumulation. This model could come in handy mid to late 2026 whenever the asset class kind of cools off and has a bear market next year. Accumulating below the blue line has been historically speaking a great time for Litecoin. Right now the time weighted average price risk is only 38%, so nowhere topping pattern is indicated at this point for Litecoin. It all depends on what Bitcoin and other major cryptos do. But if, let's say, the estimated bull run peak is to be calculated using the risk-based model that we saw, the regression or the DC risk, the time weighted average price risk and the SMA risk together, the weighted risk is only 25%. The bull run peak estimated is at around $450, provided the weighted risk at the top is at around 0.95. If you want to be slightly more conservative, take an 80% of the peak, the $360. That's where the slightly conservative estimate between 0.786 and one level closer to that 0.786 is evidenced by the 0.6. If you take a 60% of that $450 target, you get exactly the $270 level, which is confluent with that 0.618 Fibonacci levels for Litecoin. And with that, I would like to conclude by saying the first levels to watch for Litecoin, again, based on the machine learning based model, is if the price action kind of challenges this yellow line from week to week. So for example, if this week the average price is more than $128, then the Euphoria case is to be considered. But if, let's say, the yellow line itself continues to provide, if it continues to provide significant resistance, that is, let's say towards the end of August the price is well below the $150, then the yellow line makes more and more amount of sense as we move closer to the end of the year. And this model again is a dynamic one. It takes into consideration the latest price. So what is $200 today, for the bull run peak could be $250. So if you want to keep following on, and you can check each of the models on cryptoweeklies.com, link on the bottom of your screen. You don't have to pay or sign up for anything. It's all available for free. If you like this kind of content, please give a like and subscribe to help us grow and keep you informed on the machine learning based forecast. The 2 standard deviation ceiling is coming at around $300 and 3 standard deviation at around $430. And with that, I would like to conclude the video. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, hope to see you again tomorrow as well. And thank you and have a nice day. Bye bye.